available on Barb's site. Barb has thebuyers.com, or search Barb and most podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all the rest. Every week, your real estate voice. Okay.
This one? No, stop. No.
Did that improve it at
Noise
all?
from behind the computer. I don't know.
There's a voice coming from behind the computer.
Yeah,
Well, that's cute.
it's just not very loud. It's been like that a while.
I think we're about as loud as we can go on this end, I think.
Yeah,
right?
if I go any louder, then we're going to distort.
Speakers. Let me try this. Try Realty. Okay, can you talk for a second?
Yeah, I sure can. We air your real estate voice every Saturday. And if you can't listen to the entire show, always available on Barb's site. Barb has thebuyers.com, or just search Barb on most of the popular podcast platforms. I can talk, but not well. Like iHeartRadio, Spotify. Every week, your real estate voice covers great information about the housing market. Is that any better?
Not really. It's okay. I'll just listen carefully.
Okay. I'm trying to think
Hang
of
on, I'm
the
going to turn some things off. You
solution.
might have already done it, but I got to make sure some of these things are not open so they don't make noise. A little tiny move, nothing. What's wrong? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I have to kind of back off this anyway until I get my bridge done.
So I talked to the radio guys last week just for planning purposes, and we were going to skip next week
Right.
because of a show, a game.
Correct.
But they're moving me to the 11 o'clock time slot.
Permanently?
Yeah.
I think that may be good.
Yeah, they thought it was good. I don't know. I like that I'm right after Kudlow. I love Kudlow.
Well, and I was going to say, so,
And you still will be. That will not change.
and Kudlow is 3 hours, correct?
Correct.
So I think the way Saturday, and the whole idea is to make Saturday even better than it was before. So I think the way Saturday is going to be, it'll be Crank first, and that'll be at 6 o'clock. And then at 7 o'clock, it'll be yours truly. And then at 8 o'clock, from 8 to 11, will be Kudlow. And I agree with you. I think Larry Kudlow just does. He's not as flashy as Levin and stuff, but he knows his stuff inside and out. So
Yeah, I like him a lot.
yeah, I think from 8 to 11 o'clock will be Kudlow. And then I think you come after that. And that's a pretty strong lineup leading into you, I think.
Yeah, 11 to 12 is pretty good.
We'll brag.
Humble brag, yeah. Well, I mean, I play a part in it, but Kudlow's really, I think, because he's got 3 hours and it's, just timely as can be. And that way, and that should probably, will that keep her from having to get bounced at all? It should.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
There's still the odd football game.
Yeah.
But there are no more football games until fall. So
Yeah, there we are.
dodged a bullet there.
That's good. All right.
I'm still straining to hear you. Getting old. Hold on a second.
You know,
I don't know
when
why
you're-
the volume is so low here, but I'm gonna try headset.
That's what I was going to say. And actually, it doesn't look bad. I always worry about your hair, but that doesn't look bad at all. You can hardly even tell you have it on. She looks like a pilot. Did you see the guy who jumped out of his plane? He had a parachute, takes the plane off. He lies and says the plane had engine trouble. It didn't. He had cameras on the wing and everything. Jumps out, videotapes himself parachuting down, and then the cameras on the plane show it crashing. And he did it all on purpose to get a bunch of YouTube clicks.
See, hey Griff, are you still there? I changed the headset. I changed to a headset so I could hear them better. I don't know if I do that.
I think you have to change your settings in order
Logic.
to
Okay.
engage.
There we go. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Okay, good. All right.
Can you hear us any better?
Much better. Yeah, thank you. I don't know
good.
why. It sounded like you were in a fishbowl somewhere off in the distance.
I tried to stay out of fish bowls ever since college, so you know.
Okay, much better. That sounds like studio quality to me.
Dang. All right. Let's start it off here then. I got a clock and I'm ready to count us down in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of the program, the proprietor of the business as well. And this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. And it does it with Colorado's real estate authority. That is, of course, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb Schlinker is a pilot. And Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it's always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or just go ahead and look for the podcast on all of the popular platforms like iHeartRadio, Spotify, etc. Every week, Your Real Estate Voice covers great information about the housing market. It's up to date, and it's one of the largest assets that the average person has, their home. Barb, what are we going to be talking about today?
Hey, Richard, I'm excited about today's show because it's been really interesting. The last couple of weeks, I've really been deep diving in the statistics of what's going on in the real estate market. And if you just look once a month, it's not enough. It kind of looks backwards, but looking backwards doesn't necessarily tell you what's going to happen right now or going into the future. So I found a better source, and we will talk about whether or not home prices are going to drop in the next few months. And then one of my favorite topics is about negotiating. So this next topic is going to be the top 7 negotiating mistakes and how to avoid them. And just so you know, there's no training on negotiating in the real estate industry. A lot of agents think that they're legends in their own brain and they can definitely do this, but it's not a very commonly taught subject. And many times they're either messengers or they make negotiating mistakes. And the next topic is going to be kind of fun. I did some research about the top home design trends that are going on for 2024, and some of them are very surprising. And then the last topic is a little bit more of a serious topic, but it's starting to tick up a little bit. We're seeing more and more people facing foreclosure, which should not happen. We've had a huge increase in home values over the past 4 or 5 years, but some of those borrowers that bought at the tippy top, somehow they get into financial trouble and then they have to sell right away. Those people many times don't know what to do. So we're going to talk about how to stop a foreclosure, some of the ideas that I have to help people in that situation. And if you know anybody, a lot of times they're very secretive about it. If they're having financial troubles, they may not tell anyone about it. And they wait until the very last minute, or they don't do anything at all. They stick their head in the sand, and it just breaks my heart. And probably the worst hit demographic for this particular problem are unfortunately veterans, because veterans purchase homes 0 down. Then they tack on the VA funding fee, which adds another 2 to 3% to their loan amount. And so they have no equity. So if they have to sell, they're in trouble. So we'll talk about that. And as always, our hot new listings. Richard?
You've got it, Barb. Barb, as we wade into this holiday season, what's in store for the future of the area real estate market looking forward?
Well, a lot of these experts that I've been studying recently, some are doom and gloom, some are it's going to be flat, some are it's going to go up. You would not believe the large variety. I research to help people with this show. And at the end of the day, There are signs of what they call a real estate bubble. So you heard that term bubble during the last meltdown, where there was all this unbelievable glee to purchase homes, which kind of happened in 2021 again because the rates were so low. Now, what was different between the meltdown of 2008 and what happened in 2021 is that the 2021 buyers had to qualify for those loans. The ones back between 2005 and 2008 didn't even have to have a pulse practically to get a loan. So both of those surges caused a big short-term increase in home prices. But I think we're less likely to see prices correct downward that much. Maybe 5-ish% is what we've seen over the past month since the rates were up around 8, but nothing dramatic where we're going to see 25 or 30% drop. Prices in general, especially in Denver and some of those areas, actually are rising faster than the income. So that's why we're seeing a lot fewer home sales going on right now, is that, basically, if they can't afford the payment and they're getting a loan, they're not going to buy a house. That's the problem. So the rates peaked out in October at about 8.06%. When I just checked, just before we hadn't rates are at 7.09. So it did come down about a point from the peak. However, it hadn't really surged in the terms of home sales yet. If we see it drop down into the 6s, I think we'll see some more sales and maybe prices ticking up just a little bit. But in general, my crystal ball says we're going to see a relatively flat first couple of quarters of 2024, not a huge surge. And I could be wrong because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But what we're seeing right now is about 12% of the home owners that have their house on the market are dropping their price this week. So that means like 48% of people are dropping their price in a month if it's not selling, and only 12.5% of the people are getting contracts. So what does that tell me? 12.5 are getting contracts, 9% are selling, a lot fewer sales going on, which could translate to price reductions. And so because of this, I took a look at what they call migration. And for the first time in actually 30 years, the Denver area has had what we call a net negative migration. People are moving out of there simply because it's just gotten too expensive. They can't afford housing. The rent's too high. They're going other places that are less expensive. And some are actually moving to Colorado Springs. The top counties moving into El Paso County are, many of them are in Denver: Arapahoe County, Denver County. I'm seeing Adams County, Douglas County, Jefferson County. All those counties are moving down to El Paso County. So that could be a good thing. We're a little bit more affordable than Denver. But the number one county that's moving here to Colorado Springs is coming from Arizona. The other thing that we're seeing is the inventory basically has increased over the fall, and that is creating some downward pressure on home prices because there's more homes to compete with. So if you look at the naysayers, they're saying the real estate market is about 23% overvalued. Well, maybe so, but it's really holding. The values are pretty much holding within, I would say, probably 5%. And that's because there's an awful lot of homeowners out there that got those great low interest rates that were going on for the last decade. And so they're thinking twice about moving. And I heard a blogger this morning, which made a lot of sense to me. He basically said, look, if inventory goes up, okay, prices come down. And if the rates go up, the demand comes down. So those two things are almost in direct conflict with each other. So what I predict is what we're going to see probably in the next couple of months. If the rates drop down into the 6s, like they did last 2023 in the springtime, you're going to see prices tick up again. If not, if that doesn't happen, and if it just stays like it is right now, what we're going to see is lower demand, People are going to have pressure if they need to sell right now to lower their price to get it sold. But that is partly why we sit down with homeowners and we actually deep dive, not only about their house, but about their zip code, their area. We take a look at what the market's doing to give them really good information about how to position the home to get the most money. And so part of that consultation includes getting all the 4 Ps right: preparation, helping them prepare their home for sale, picking the right agent, pricing the home right. And of course, we promote very, very well. It's really important. So we have a free report that will help you get all those 4 Ps absolutely correct. It's called the Top 7 Tips to Get Your House Ready to Sell for Top Dollar. You can order that report for free on our website, barbhasthebuyers.com. Go to free reports and download it. But what we're seeing just in the past probably 6 months is a pretty big drop in the median or middle price range, which is giving downward pressure on home prices right now. So if you are thinking of making a move, my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about whether or not homes prices are going to be dropping over the next few months, and actually what home sellers should do moving into the future. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing the current real estate market. You know it inside and out, year after year, and how people can be prepared if they want to buy or to sell. So what should home sellers expect and do in a market situation just like this one?
Well, we've got kind of a low inventory situation, okay? And I think that's just going to be the new normal for the next couple of years. And there definitely are some buyers sitting on the sidelines waiting for lower rates before they pick their house. They're just kind of like waiting to pounce if they find a good deal and a good price. So in any market, doesn't matter what's going on, buyers always jump on the best deal. And I think it's a mistake for them to wait for prices to fall, because at the end of the day, we don't know if rates are going to fall. But it is a good indication of where the market is going. So if you see prices come down into the 6s just a little bit, it's going to be enough to cause more demand to suddenly spark up. And that what that means is that they'll have more competition, which most buyers don't like. At the moment, the 30-year fixed rate's just over 7%. It did come down a whole percentage point since October, but so far that has not translated into an increase in demand for homes. And some of that could be seasonality. I think going into the spring is going to be a really good indication of where the rest of the year is going to go. But right now, consumers are very sensitive to any changes in rates. So if the rates drop down in the 6s, just like this previous spring, I think we'll see inventory go down and maybe even see prices go up. So what should sellers do? They should price their home very realistically and make sure that their home is prepared to go on the market, because what's going on is their competition right now absolutely is new construction. And these builders are killing it. They have double market share ever since the rates have gone up. They're offering fabulous incentives, interest rates, buy downs, all kinds of things like that. So you have to have condition to be like a builder. You have to make sure that you update the home enough to compete with new construction. And you have to make sure that you offer incentives or be ready to pay for incentives, because a whole bunch of buyers right now, their offers are coming across and they're asking for as much as $10,000 in concessions to help them buy down the interest rate. But the key is to pick the right agent to help you sell your home, somebody that knows the market and that can help you get your home ready so that you position to get top dollar in a relatively short period of time. It is definitely taking more time to sell homes right now, but that's part of what we do, is give our clients an in-home consultation on what to do to get the most money and figure out exactly what it's going to take so that they can get top dollar in any market situation. My name is Barb Schlinker, and you could call us anytime at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
I'm Richard Randall. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb's the proprietor of that. That is where you will normally find her. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900. Or as I said, visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing top 7 negotiating mistakes in real estate and how you can avoid them. Stay tuned for that. Wow, that's punctual. Very good.
Kept looking at the clock going, speed up, skip that.
Yeah, well, you're good at doing that. I mean, in fact, I have to say, I've done a lot of radio and TV, but especially TV, they'll give you these scripts and they'll try to time it out so that it's exactly right. And it never is. And there are people who are actually pretty good anchors, but when it comes to trying to drop this or speed this up, or, you know what, I don't have time to talk about this, I'll move to the next thing. There aren't people like you. Most people just get so flustered, and, especially if it's live, they don't know what to do. You just waltz right through it.
Yeah, the live part's a little intimidating.
It is. I mean, because you can just hit I try not to take advantage of it. I do, unfortunately, however. Can we repeat that? In fact, I'm going to go get a drink of water. Just a second.
My nose is running still.
Might want to catch it. Do you need to grab some tissue or anything?
No, I've got some.
Okay.
In a mess. No change. I got a new VA repo assignment, and it's a site of a double murder suicide. I'm like, oh,
The new listing?
yeah.
Yikes.
I'm not allowed to disclose that.
Really? Isn't that weird? I mean, I'm sorry. This is not talking as anybody to do with real estate, but as a consumer, I think because we had a house close to where I was at, where we had that. It was a young kid, affluent family, young kids started hanging out with the wrong people. And somebody broke into the house because the kid had said, "Oh yeah, my stepfather has got all kinds of stuff. He's got a safe here," and broke in and ended up beating people up, robbed them, and then ended up killing some people. And I don't know, if I moved into a house like that, I think I'd want to know. I'd probably try to negotiate a lower price, but I would want to know if something bad like that happened. But
yeah, I mean, usually I will tell the buyers if I'm working the buyer, but I'm not working the buyer.
Exactly. Yep.
That, hey, ask the neighbors. They know everything.
Yes. No, and that's true.
Yeah.
You know what? And again, this gets back to the fiduciary thing, and you've got to look out for your client.
Yeah, but I haven't been inside yet. I went to the outside over the weekend. I'm like,
How
I
long
didn't
ago?
know until the preservation said, "Oh, wasn't that where that double murder suicide was?" I'm like, "Oh my God, great."
Well,
So
it's better than meth. Let's put it that way, right? I mean,
that's true. It's not, at least the house isn't, I don't know. Who knows if the guy had relatives that cleaned out his house. It was the owner of the house that did the murder and the suicide.
oh God.
He killed two girls that were in their upper 20s that were in his house and then killed himself.
And having talked to the coroner, who I think is a great guy, Leon Kelly, he says these, and I think they're private contractors, but he says those companies do just an incredible job. They
Yeah.
let them go through, get all the evidence, fingerprints, blood, bullet holes, all that. But by the time they're done, you couldn't, I mean, it's not even, you could smell, cleaner or anything like apparently they do a pretty good job.
Yeah, I've had, let's see, two suicide houses this year and now this one.
Gosh, dang.
And
I
I
know we
guess
have a
that's a
higher
growth
rate.
business, which
Well,
is,
some people say it's the military, some people say it's the altitude. I don't know what, but I mean, these are tough times.
yeah, I heard food is another
Yes.
one.
Yep.
Diet,
$11,400 more than 2 years ago. I mean, and trust
just
me,
the type of food,
well, and
I
that's
don't
the
know.
exact same food. I tell this. I was telling David. I know we're getting along here, but every time I go in a store, I will talk with one or two people who are customers, and usually maybe one person who's working there. And I will mention to them, that I'm here buying the same thing that I bought 2 years ago, but it's going to cost me $11,400 more. Now it turns out Colorado's even higher. It's $15,000 more for the exact same stuff as it was 2 years ago. David, tell her the example you use, which is even better.
Well, that scene in Home Alone
Yeah,
where Kevin goes out to the grocery store.
yeah,
He spends just under $20
right.
in that scene. If you were to go to Chicago, which is supposedly where it was all filmed and took place and everything, if you were to buy those same items, it would cost you $84.23.
Man, that's a lot. I mean, that's a big change in just what? When was that movie? That was maybe 10 years ago?
84,
Okay,
85,
longer now.
something like that.
So that's why I like that one. I also like the fact that just 2 years ago, because, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Max. I don't care if it's my kids. I don't care if it's somebody who works here. From 2 years ago to get the same stuff, $11,400 more
Mhm.
it's unconscionable.
That's
And
crazy.
I see people all the time, because when I talk with them, I'm like, well, do you ever put things back? And they're like, yeah, I try to put it back before I get up to the checkout because I don't want to feel stupid up there. But I'm
Right.
always putting things back. I took a photograph of Miracle Whip, $7.49 per miracle.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right. Let's see. And I think we're good here. All right. I'm ready to start if you are. Miss Wonderful.
Yeah, I think so.
You had that pondering look on your face there for a
I
second.
was just trying to get my head around what I was going to say here.
I have that look every day before I start doing my show. Okay. Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. Three, two, there used to be a guy here, honestly. He was a real popular FM guy. And so he, in essence, told him, hey, look, I'm going to go to a different station unless you give me a talk show over there on KVOR. So they gave him a talk show on KVOR because he wanted to have credibility. So what he would do, though, is he would just walk into the newsroom every morning, like 5 minutes before he started the show, and just look at the front page of the newspaper because they told him whatever on the front page, just talk about that. That was his idea of preparing for a show. That didn't last long. All right, here we go. Three, to,
He's driving a bus now.
I know. Right.
I'm just saying he drives a bus.
Well, they all do that. They all kind of regurgitate the day's news. I don't know if you noticed that, but they're like, well, yeah, I've heard this already.
Yeah.
I guess it's hard to get new copy.
Well, you have to dig. I mean, I find stuff all the time. In fact, I find so much stuff I don't have time to get it all in. And if anything, every now and then I'll miss the big story that everybody's talking about because I, did a deeper dive and I should have stayed up on the surface. Not that I ever make mistakes. 3, 2, 1, and it is. Hi, welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. It does it with the host of the program, Barb Schlinker. She's the owner of Your Home Sold Realty. Barb, most people selling a home have some different ideas of their home's value. Some believe that they should price it at the very top of the price range. Others want a quick sale, and others have no idea at all. They ask their neighbors, they look online, they really don't know. So, how does a home seller price their home to negotiate what they want, which is the very best price?
Well, I tell you, Richard, I don't know too many home sellers that don't want the most money. Most of them want the most money. Some of them will say, well, I want a fair price. But at the end of the day, we got to help them reach their goals. And oftentimes, how much money they want may not necessarily match what the market is doing. And it really is the market that decides what your home is going to sell for. You can definitely influencing it. You can definitely influence what the market will pay for your home based on the preparation, how you get the home ready for sale. Like I have a client, they're on the market right now, and they did everything right. They set up 2 storage sheds. They got rid of all the clutter. They freshened up the paint. It just looks amazing. And I think it's going to go pretty quickly just because they got the preparation part right. And I think they got the pricing right too. But it's very natural for home sellers to price a home based on how much they're going to net in their pocket. And I get that concept. However, the market is the market. It doesn't matter how pretty your house is or how well it's marketed. If it's overpriced, especially in this market, chances are it's going to sit there. And the problem is most of these agents out there really don't study what's going on in the market with a level of detail, at least not what I do. And they're not paying attention to what's going on, but they'll look back at historic sales and go, oh, well, because that one sold for this much, your home must sell for this much. And then the house goes on the market and it sits there month after month after month, and they can't understand what's going on, or they'll say, oh, it's the market. Well, yes, it's the market, but it was that they didn't really take a hard look at the market on a regular basis to see where the trends are going to really help home sellers figure that out. And then when it comes to negotiating the best price, when you do catch a worm and get a buyer that's willing to make an offer, best case is you don't want to let them get away, because there's probably a number that everybody could be happy with. But you just have to work it in a very positive manner. And for sure, you cannot rely on those online guesstimates of home values like what Zillow does. Because first of all, Zillow is not the MLS. They're a tech company trying to take over the real estate business and do everything online. That's their mission. And Zillow will use what they call their algorithm, which is some sort of computer program that guesses what a home is worth based on similar home sales around the area. Some of them aren't even sales. Some of them are just houses next door that they stick a price on based on the square footage. But the problem is half the time the square footage is wrong. Half the time they don't know if you have views. Half the time they don't know if there's something special. Has your home been updated in such a way that would make it command more money? Or does it have fabulous views that would make it command more money? Both of those things can work if it's done right. So they don't get to really peek inside and know what's going on. But a lot of people think that is the gold standard for value, which is absolutely not true. The other thing too is it's a little bit difficult, especially right now, to rely on what your neighbor's home sold for. Now, a lot of people ask me about appraisal. It's probably one of the most common questions I get about appraisal and home value. And an appraisal is an opinion of value using similar home sales around your home that have historically already sold. It doesn't take into factor, as far as the current value of that home, what the market's doing right now. It doesn't project where the market's going, whether it's going up or going down or going flat or whatever. It just looks at historic sales, which things are changing all the time and every home is different. Now, an appraiser will make adjustments based on condition and views and things like that. But again, it's a historic viewpoint. I had one appraiser tell one of my home sellers his house is worth $1.2 million. Guess what that home sold for? It was just over $875,000. So they were off by almost $300,000. But the seller was absolutely convinced, because a licensed appraiser said my home is worth that much, then that's what it must be worth. And it just doesn't work that way. There's a lot of factors. So a market value is basically an opinion. It's what a buyer is willing to pay. And you have to look at a lot of different things. So you look at what your competition is. You look at your condition. You look at what's available. There's a whole bunch of things that go into making a really good educating guess of what the home is worth. And then when you do get an offer, then the buyers are going to want things. And that's where things go a little sideways, because there's a lot of misconceptions, in my opinion, out there right now about what the market is doing. Yeah, the market is kind of soft right now. I'm actually having one of my better months of the year, and things are selling, but the people that price it right are moving really, really quickly. And sometimes there's competition, even now, with a slightly corrected or basically kind of flat market. So the number one negotiating mistake that I see is that some of these agents make mistakes on managing expectations. So they'll tell their buyers, oh, go ahead and make that lowball offer and ask for everything there too. Don't worry, it's a buyer's market, without even asking whether or not there's competition on that home. The last two offers I have received on my listings, there was no call from the agent, no text from the agent. They showed the home, did not give feedback, and just shoved an offer at me via email. So I didn't know it was coming. And they had already sat down with their buyer and decided on how much they were going to make an offer, not knowing what the situation was, whether or not there were other offers on the table. And in this case, there was. So it's really good to get more information. That is the way you can really be effective at communication, and at negotiations. But if you just, kind of fly blind and make some assumptions that, oh, it's not a hot market, don't worry, it's going to be fine, go ahead and ask for the moon, you'll probably get it, or we'll get somewhere in between. Most of the time, sellers want the most money they can get, and most of the time the buyers want the best house that they can get. But typically what we see when buyers search for homes, they're looking for homes that fit their budget, first of all, and they will start at the low point of their budget. If they can't find what they want, they might go up in price. But many of them search in $50,000 increments, and some home sellers think it's okay to price high for negotiating room. But the fact is, all the data is out there for the buyers to see now. Unlike what it was decades ago when everything was not online, now everything's easily available for the buyers to go to Zillow and go, oh, look, they lowered their price last month, or Zillow thinks their home is worth X. Or you can go to Realtor.com and see 3 different values of the home. So it's always best to price your home what I call realistically versus optimistically when you do decide on a price. Another negotiating mistake that people make a lot is, especially between agents, there's this tug of war that goes on between the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. And some people are really all about kind of that win-lose scenario. Do you know what I'm talking about, Richard?
I do. Yeah. I mean, they look at it that way. I don't think that's the best way to look at it, is it, Barb?
No, well, it makes people really mad. I get stuff, and if I don't get all the stuff I want, I'm going to walk away. So it's both win-lose and the takeaway strategy, which doesn't go too well for some people. Some people actually get very indignant and go, forget it, go away then. That's fine. And some people actually get offended. So the negotiating mistake number 3 is being offended by an offer. Don't be offended. Don't get emotional. Try to, pretend that it's somebody else's house. You have an offer. Maybe it's not the offer that you want. Let's respond to them at least and give them something that you will take. Be a little bit flexible on price. Yeah, they're going to make some ridiculous lowball offer, ask for a ridiculous concession. That's been the trend lately, Richard, is these offers come in asking for anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 of the seller to pay their loan closing costs so they can get a lower interest rate. How would you feel about that?
I would be so angry. I don't know that that's exactly bait and switch, but that is exactly why I want you representing me. I'm dead serious on that, Barb Schlinker.
Well, thank you. And it's okay to play this game and go back and forth. I get it that maybe they're cash challenged and they're trying to get stuff. But if you push too hard trying to get stuff, eventually what could happen is that people just, end up breaking up and walking away from the whole thing, which is a problem. You got a buyer that wants to buy and a seller that wants to sell. We just have to work towards what is that number, what is that negotiation point where we'll both reach an agreement. So negotiating mistake number 4 is failure to communicate at all. And I mentioned that about just shoving an offer without talking to the listing agent and knowing what the situation is. Information is very, very helpful. Other things that might be more helpful for a buyer making an offer is what's important to the seller. There are sellers right now that would like to stay in their home for a little bit longer after closing for whatever reason. Maybe they're waiting for a job commitment to end, or maybe they're, not going to move until this point, whatever. If you ask the question, if you communicate, okay, then maybe you could position your offer to actually reach the middle where everybody's happy. And if you don't ask the question, if you make assumptions, sometimes it just freaks everybody out. Like, oh my God, you want to close in like 2 weeks and you want me to be out right before Christmas or something like that. It just freaks them out. So you're better off asking the right questions so that you can come to an agreement, because that is the goal at the end of the day, to help the seller sell and help the buyer buy. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. I've been here in real estate since the 90s, and I'm the host of this show. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can avoid some negotiating mistakes. You can call me anytime at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, just call Barb at 719-301-3900, or of course visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing top home design trends for 2024 and what they mean for you. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. So I'm at 13:16. Did I get out too early?
No, let me see.
Because I think
I don't know. How much time do we have? How much can we squeeze in there, Dave?
I work with whatever you give me. So
I could probably squeeze in like just a really quick, like 30-second segment at the very end to wrap it up.
Okay.
If you want to just say, okay,
so let's
next
touch on
question.
those mistakes. Yeah.
Okay. You want me to read you the whole thing, or just
that last portion?
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Well, Barb, let's go ahead and just touch on some of those mistakes real quickly.
Well, number one, don't expect a bidding more these days, but go ahead and ask. And if it does happen, if you're a seller, wonderful. If you're a buyer, make your best offer. They're less common right now. Number two, don't get emotional. Everybody gets very emotional about things. And take your time, think about it. Give yourself more time if you think you're initially going to react very negatively. That's a good idea. Also, don't price a home for negotiations, because look really hard at the competition. And that's part of what we help our clients do, is make sure that they're pricing their home realistically versus optimistically. Another thing is, don't let the real estate agent overprice your home. I actually had a home seller just a month ago that they just wanted to sell their house, but their real estate agent said, oh no, it's worth that much. Anyway, it didn't sell. They hired me. We priced it very realistically. We got an offer less than that. And I thought, well, maybe we should counter. And their answer to me was, no, we'll take that offer. We're good with that. So you have to listen to what people are saying and help them meet their goals. There are some agents that will go out and just actually recommend to sellers, hey, yeah, price it over $1 million, and then wait for other agents to tell them it's overpriced just to get them to sign on the dotted line. And I think that is malpractice. Pricing realistically versus optimistically is what is the best case scenario. And that's what we help our clients do. We offer a free service that we look at their home. We give them tips on how to get top dollar, show them our list of buyers, give them a realistic price range, and show them exactly how much they're putting in their pocket. So if you're interested in that, call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Barb about how you can get the very most for your home, have the best negotiator and the best person when it comes to bargaining and marketing. That is Barb Schlinker. We'll talk more with her when we come back. Right here after, I almost said 740 KPR. We'll talk with her. We'll talk with her more as soon as we come back.
So David, we're going on to the top design trends. Did you want to chop the previous one there and insert it? Can you do that?
Yeah, I've already got him recorded saying that, so I'll plug that in.
I said that too early is what happened, and because I was looking at the clock and I thought there's no way we fit this in, so I recorded that earlier, and then
We're all
we
set.
were able to get a little bit more in. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great.
All right.
One of my dogs.
Is that your dog?
Yeah,
He's
there's one of them.
Oh my God, he is so cute.
I love Bloods. I'm a blood girl.
I love Crips.
Bloodhounds.
Oh, I'm sorry. We were talking gangs. I thought for a second. I'm kidding.
The Bloods.
Fellas, Marcos.
They're so messy and disgusting, but doesn't matter.
I had a friend, it was one of my best friends, but they had whatever these are, these St. Bernards, and it was huge. And generally it was cute, except you wouldn't be in the house for more than 15 minutes that it wouldn't shake its head. And I kid you not, slobber just went all over the place. I mean,
yeah.
I noticed it because it got on me, it got on my girlfriend, it got on everybody. I actually didn't look around to see what the walls and the furniture was like. But now that I think about it after all these years, I'm kind of glad I didn't.
They slime you. They'll go drink water and stick their jowls on your clothes. And
oh, that's
they're
true.
They're funny.
They are cute, though. Our dog's getting old and kids are worried. They're coming home for Christmas and they were home for Thanksgiving. Every time they're home, they're worried that it'll be the last time they see it. And yet they're, Jenna in particular is cognizant enough that she just keeps saying, you know what, I want to see it the next time, but if it's time to let go, Dad, just please take it and let it go. I don't need to see it. I don't want it to be uncomfortable. So
yeah,
life goes on.
It's sad.
It is.
You don't live very long.
I know. It seems like, your dog's going to be here for 13, 14, 15 years. And it seems so long, and yet it goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
How old are yours?
Yeah, the Bloods live about, the oldest one I had, I think, was 13 years, but most of them are anywhere from 8 to 10 or 11. Just depends on how healthy they are and
Whether like mine,
genetics,
some of them
just
got
genetics.
chowed by coyotes.
Oh God.
They both survived, but thankfully I was able to get out there pretty quickly.
Are they little?
Yeah, they were both Shih Tzus.
Oh
And
yeah.
the one I got out there real quickly. The other one, and it was one of these things where, son of a gun, I was home alone. The kids are in the bathtub, and it's one of these big, huge bathtubs, and they were young. And now all of a sudden the dog needs to go outside. So what do? It's like, okay, I'm going to run back and forth between the door and the bathroom. I don't want the kids to drown. I don't want the dog to run off. And in the time I went back to check on the kids, coyote came along and it chomped into the neck of the first one, and you could see the bite marks all the way through the neck. They had to put these little tubes in to drain. I don't know what they drained out, but they drained something out. And it was okay. They had to give it a lot of antibiotics and stuff. But so that was one time, and I kid you not, about 5 years later. It couldn't have been that long because the kids were still small. Same thing, trying to keep an eye on the dog, keep an eye on the kids, and the dog gets attacked by a coyote again. And I love coyotes, but I wish they'd just leave my dogs the hell alone when I'm trying to give my kids a bath.
Wow.
All right. Let's see. We got a new clock here, and I am ready to go.
Okay.
You good, Barb?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Right. We'll count it down. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, as the real estate market is moving to a more balanced market from a red hot seller's market that it was a year or so ago, what are some things that a home seller can do to make their home seem on trend and more attractive to home buyers? Trendy means a lot. What are the latest trends?
It does. And I don't think anybody can be expected to keep up with all the trends. They change all the time. We had gray and that came and went. We had all white kitchens and that came and went. It's one of those things that you should design your home the way you like it and just be fine with it. But we do know that the average buyer will spend less than 57 seconds looking at a home online. So if they don't like what they see, they're going to move on very quickly. And we don't know why or how many buyers are eliminating homes based on the online presentation. And there are some things that you can do that will make your home more attractive, regardless of how much updating you've done. One of the key things is paint. So with paint, neutral is always way better than being dramatic. I'll tell you a story. Myself and my partner had listings at the same time that were priced very close to each other. And he had one and I had one. So my listing was neutral. It sold for over asking price really quickly. His listing had 2 rooms that had accent walls. One was kind of this pinky magenta color, and the other color was this bright turquoise. And so time went on. Even when the market was hot, it wasn't selling. Finally, he goes, "What am I doing wrong?" And I looked at the pictures. I'm like, it's just paint. Paint neutralized those 2 rooms. And sure enough, as soon as he did that, boom, sold for full price. So it's weird, but buyers will just turn their nose up at any kind of minor work and updating for some odd reason. So things like paint and flooring are absolutely key. Here's an example. So I don't know if you remember in the last couple of years, it probably started about 6 years ago, gray was all the rage, this gray, and people were all in with this gunmetal gray and dark gray and gray everywhere. I've never liked gray, just so you know, it's not my thing. And it became very modern and stark. And that trend has come and gone. And now neutral, kind of a nice cream of beige, still light, little bit of gray with some light or dark browns. It doesn't matter, but neutral always works. Some of the things that are also changing a little bit are the sofa silhouettes. I was a little bit surprised by this. They become less big and tall and wide and kind of a lower profile. And again, neutral. And the 70s are back, believe it or not. I always thought that would not come back, but it's a little fresher looking. So some treatments on the walls, but again, more leaning towards neutral, lower profile couches, that kind of thing. Here's another 70s thing that's coming back right now, which is this fluted looking wall paneling, which to me almost has like an Asian vibe, kind of, the paneling looks kind of Japanese to me for some reason. But I think paneling is nice if it's done well. The old 70s dark paneling probably is not going to be back in style. And then here's another thing that I think is really kind of cool. And I've actually had an interior designer say this to me before, that if you have a space like an eat-in kitchen or a formal dining room where everything is very rectangle, you have a rectangle table and a rectangle hutch or side boy. If you bring in some rounded shapes, like with the light fixture or with cushions or even decorating pieces, it kind of balances out the hard angles of rectangles. And then another color that's kind of coming back in, which we saw this back in the early 90s. I don't know if you remember, Richard, but when I first got into real estate in the mid 90s, all the rage and all the models were painted pink and green. Do you remember that fashion statement that went on for a while?
I wouldn't. Well, I guess it was a statement. It was something. In fact, it is almost impossible to forget that. Whose idea it was, I'm not quite sure, but thank goodness some things with the passage of time kind of move on. Thanks for reminding me, though, Barb.
Yeah, well, I remember going to this one model home where they were all in with pink and green. In fact, they painted over wallpaper with these colors. It was really something. So apparently pink, kind of a very, very soft pink, they're calling it Soho pink, is coming back as an accent wall. I don't know if I would go all in with that when you're selling a home. It'd be okay if you did it in maybe a girl's bedroom or something, but I wouldn't, roll the dice on something like that if you're selling. A neutral is always going to work when you're selling. Another thing that's in right now in small spaces that are kind of awkward, like for the longest time, a lot of kitchens had those little desk areas, and those are going out of vogue. And now they're putting in these window seats with cushions, a little added storage, and kind of white painted cabinets. Very chic, very nice. I like that. It worked for me. And then also on backsplashes. So what we saw, we went from gray, then we were all white kitchen, all white counters, all white cabinets. And it for a lot of families, it doesn't work because white gets dirty very easy in fingerprinted, especially on cabinets. And now they're saying add a little color, like go in, blend your backsplash with a alternating dark color. You have to be really careful doing this though, because I've seen some people that will have a very grainy, colorful granite, and then they'll put in another very colorful backsplash and then dark cabinets. It's just too much going on. So again, neutral and fresh is always going to work. And typically people don't necessarily need to do a full-on remodel to sell their home for top dollar. If you just price it right and make sure that if you have any dramatic paint, that you neutralize it. Updated flooring and paint absolutely can go a long way. And that's absolutely what we do for our clients. So we meet with you, we take a good look at your home, we give you tips on what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale so it will sell for top dollar. We'll show you our list of buyers, and then we'll give you a really realistic price range of what your home will sell for, and most of all, how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells. So my name is Barb Schlinker. I've been here in real estate since the 90s. I'm also the host of this show, which is entitled Your Real Estate Voice. My company name is Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And Barb has the buyer's team. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call anytime at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what are some things that sellers should think about before putting their homes on the market in terms of design and designed trends. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and she is with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's a proprietor, and if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb, 719-301-3900. Barb, what are some other things that home sellers should avoid in design style when they're putting their homes on the market right now?
Well, typically things like heavy prints don't photograph well. I actually like them. I'm weird, but I'm probably old fashioned, but the picture I'm showing you right now is these chairs that I bought at a consignment store, and my stager went behind my back and took them back to the consignment store because they were so ugly in her view. And they don't work for staging. And she probably was right. I didn't know about it until like months later. I get this check and I'm like, what's this for? I said, this is for the floral chairs, isn't it? And sure enough, it was. I thought it was really funny. So you have to be super careful about heavy floral prints. You can do it for accents here and there, but when you're selling a home, neutral. Another color and another print style that doesn't photograph very well at all is anything with red in it. Any volume of red, even like a darker red on a camera, it actually shows up like fuchsia. It just jumps off the page and it's very distracting. And you have to think about what buyers are looking at, right? They're typically picking up their smartphone, they're looking for homes, and they're just swiping by pictures very quickly to figure out if they're going to spend their time and money for driving by your house first to see if they like it next before they make their next move. So you don't want to be eliminated online based on a very bright red accent wall or a bright red couch or something like that. The other thing that I see agents make this mistake all the time is they will photograph. Well, we have to use all the photographs. So just so you know, there's a lot of rules that we have to abide by with our listing service, or we get taken to the MLS police and get fined and stuff like that. So in my view, vacant rooms don't work for everybody. There are some people that can look at a vacant room and know exactly what they're going to do with that. But I think that's a smaller segment of the population. To me, it takes a creative mindset to look at an empty room and go, oh, yeah, I know, I'm going to put my couch here. And it doesn't have the warmth and the love that it would if there was furniture in it. And so part of what we do is we can either real stage or virtually stage rooms so that the buyers can visualize themselves living there. Now, we can do it virtually. We still have to include the vacant photograph, but at least they can get an idea to see if they want to explore that home further. And that's very important. Another thing that absolutely does not photograph well is clutter. And most people live with clutter. I'm the first to admit, you should see my office right now. I'm going to clean it out this break, but who knows? But anyway, you live with clutter just because some people do, not everybody, but you live with clutter just because you get used to it and you don't think much about it. But when it comes to putting your house on the market, it's a different story. The buyers cannot get past the stuff. I have had buyers tell me, if I saw a marketing photo like that, I would not go even to see that home. It has nothing to do with the home itself, right? They're rejecting the home based on the owner's stuff that's in the home. So you have to be very, very careful and make sure that you actually make it look, some people say it doesn't even look lived in. Another thing that's very much out of style that I would correct would be faux paint. Now, if you just have one bathroom, a powder bath or something like that, that has faux paint, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But if you're all in with one of the major rooms, like a living room or a a dining room, and you have this heavy painted faux design, it's very, very out of style. It looks very dated. I would take the time to paint it and neutralize it. Another thing that's out of style right now are oak cabinets. Now, a lot of people have oak cabinets. Hang on a sec.
We can't hear you at all.
Sorry. Thank you for telling me that. I'm jammering on. Here we go. So oak cabinets are out of style, but you can do things with oak cabinets to make them look more attractive. Maybe just put hardware on it. Even I can do that, this girl that's afraid of tools, right? Or you could have it professionally painted, especially if you use that gel paint. It looks really, really nice. Also, the drop-down light fixtures are out of style in general. So in a nutshell, buyers typically don't want a remodel project. So getting it as move-in ready as possible is going to help you. My name is Barb Schlinker. If you would like to give us a call and get an in-home consultation, that's part of what we do. We even have a program where we help fund some of these repairs. Call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Remember, regardless of your situation or your budget, Barb can always help you. Get in touch with her, 719-301-3900. When we come back, we're going to be discussing how to stop a foreclosure, plus Barb's hot new listings. She doesn't want to miss those, and you certainly don't want to miss those. Stay tuned. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that the foreclosure thing, they're really, I thought there were a lot, but I looked at it a little closer. There's not that many of them, right? So I don't know why I'm doing a whole segment on it, but I don't know. Just around Christmas time, I think it's a good thing I think we're kind of reaching a point where a lot of people have tried to get their loan modifications and that kind of thing. And then now loan modifications are pretty much stopping, and the banks are not going to let them string it on much longer. So I thought I would just spend a little bit of time helping those people. That's okay.
Oh, no, I think it's good. Especially, I think you're right this time. I mean, gosh dang, I just can't imagine what it would be like to be in a situation where, you were the one who was in a foreclosure situation. And I don't know, life is hard. I keep thinking that, oh my gosh, I could never be on the streets. I could never be this. I could never be that. No, it's pretty close to a lot of that. We're not that far from any of it, I think, sometimes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, anything could go wrong in people's lives, and lose a job, and that might be enough,
Lose a job. Or, I've talked with people who, had a head injury, and, a friend of mine was skiing on Pikes Peak, had a head injury. His entire life changed.
I know him. I actually met him, Richard.
Yeah, that's right. You did.
We used to share an office or be right next to each other in my very first office space here.
And the thing is you met one guy, or wait, did you meet him before the accident or after?
It was after. He was
completely different guy before the accident. And I don't know, he was a quarter of who he used to be in terms of his ability to do things, his ability to talk, his ability to walk. I mean, I think his thought process was pretty well, but his life was never the same. And I was 3 feet from him eating sunflower seeds and taking my boots off when that happened to him. It easily could have been me.
I don't know how you're not traumatized by it.
I was. I actually got post-traumatic stress therapy for several months because, You know what? Well, you've been through military and whatnot. It literally was like a videotape. He fell 1,000 feet. He fell out of my field of
Wow.
vision, and
Was it an avalanche or?
we were digging it. So we're up on Pikes Peak, and we were going to ski it later. We'd skied it the year before. We were going to ski it, but we wanted to, his wife had bought him an avalanche, class and an avalanche backpack and all this stuff. So we actually just went up there that day to dig an avalanche pit. And I'm sitting there changing out of, my ski boots and into regular boots because it was so icy. Imagine an angled um, bowling alley that was made out of ice. That's what it was like. And we should just, once we saw it was like that, we should have just left. But he wanted to dig it and to use his thing. So, like I said, he's 3 or 4 feet away from me. He's starting to dig, and the wind blew over his backpack. It's a brand new, like $400 backpack with all of the stuff that you need, for avalanche pits and everything. And it was just instinct. He didn't give a second thought to it. It blew over, so he just kind of dived to grab it. But when he dived to grab it, there was no purchase. There was nothing to stop him from sliding. So he just kept sliding and sliding. And then eventually he started tumbling. And the way the mountain is it kind of curved away. And so he tumbled for about, I don't know, 400 or 500 feet, and then he went out of my field of vision and fell 1,000 feet. And not like a just straight drop, but he smashed into these boulders, smashed into those boulders, went down 1,000 feet. And I tried telling people, because 1,000 feet is abstract, but every story of a
long
building
way
is 10 feet. So when you say 10 feet and you say, well, he fell 100 feet, he fell 10 stories. So if he fell 1,000 feet, he fell 100 stories, not straight down, but dinging back and forth. When I got down to him, I have never seen skin the color. It looked like a bluish mahogany. I couldn't believe. I kept talking to him and trying to get him to hang on, and it was a miracle. Search and rescue was out there already that morning practicing, and that's the only reason they were able to get him out. They already had a helicopter and crews up there. Helicopter should never have landed because it was so windy. They got him on board and they took him away. And I'm not going to lie to you. I spent 20 minutes saying, look, Ann's depending on you. Alex is depending. Dan, stay with me here, and talking to him, and you get this glazed look in his eyes. This is horrible to say, Barbara. The rest of his life, I don't know if I did him any favors by telling him to stay, but there you go. But it was like a videotape. They just rolled over and over and over. I couldn't get it to stop.
Yeah.
Well, there's your Christmas.
I met him after he was, he did appeal work as a lawyer.
Yeah. And I guess he was good doing that.
Yeah. And he told me, he goes, I just can't, my short-term memory is gone. So I have to write everything down.
And apparently, from people I talked with, he could write good briefs, and he was good at doing that. He certainly couldn't stand up in court and argue, and his short-term memory really was bad. And again, I'm just being real honest. I don't know if he was good and he got the work and was able to make a go of it because of that, or I don't know if there were people who liked him and cared enough about him that they kind of passed on some stuff to him or whatever. But it's just, my point was it changed in a heartbeat. And if I had been out there and a $500 backpack that I just got from my wife for Christmas blew over, I probably would have dived to grab it too, and it would have been me at the bottom of the mountain. All right.
Wow.
And on that happy Christmas note, geez. And so his wife was my anchor in television. So she was actually my friend. He wasn't even my friend. The only reason I went was he was going to go up there no matter what.
Right.
And he invited me to go. And I said, I don't have a good feeling about this. I don't think I'm going to go. And he said, well, I'm going to go anyway. So, all right. And then I'm like, fuck, pardon my language. I'm like, I call him back and I'm going to go ahead, and I go. And everything changed. And part of it was his wife I mean, she was everything. She's really beautiful. She's really charming. She's a great co-anchor. She was a great friend, except he had been up at what is that place up the mental brain injury place up in Denver. I can't think of the name of it, but he
Mhm.
was up there for about 6 months, and it was finally time for him to come home. And same thing, he had been hanging in there because he wanted to come home, look forward to coming home. The day before he was supposed to come back and come home, she told him, Dan, you're not coming home. I'm not letting you come home. I'm not. We're done with. We're going to have to get divorced, and you're going to have to find a place to stay tonight because this isn't going forward. And I just thought
Wow.
it was a really shitty thing to do. And I really
Yeah.
liked her a lot, but I thought it was a shitty thing to do. And I honestly, I don't know. I just thought, couldn't you let him just come home for 4 months or 6 months and just go through it? I mean, you want to have an affair with somebody up in Denver or go have a great life on the weekends, go do it. But can you just get him through a little bit of normalcy here before you say, I guess we're going to go our way? And we've been kind of friends since then, but never the same. Never the same.
Yeah. That's pretty mean,
Yeah. And
self-centered.
well, and you know what? And to her credit, I mean, they did a whole big series of front page articles on this whole thing. And she did an honest thing that just said, I couldn't imagine him coming to back home to live. He had a colostomy bag or whatever. I couldn't picture myself helping him change that a couple of times per day. And this isn't the person that I married. What they didn't know was they were on the verge of divorce before this happened. So this was kind of just the last straw. Is that as juicy as it can get here, this show? You got enough over there? David says, give me some more. I'm like, no. All right, I'm ready to go here. You ready, Barb?
I'm ready.
I apologize for all that. Here we go.
No, it's-
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program. She's also the owner and the proprietor of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, there are some people that face financial challenges resulting in them not being able to pay their house payments. It's a pretty scary thing for people. What are some things that a home seller can do, or somebody they know, if they're facing something like this? What can they do to deal with this kind of a hardship?
Well, Richard, in my real estate career, I have seen a lot of this happen from the last meltdown. And unfortunately, some of it's starting to happen again. But what I've learned from that, because I've helped hundreds of people work their way out of foreclosure. Hang on a sec. My nose is not behaving. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So once somebody gets behind on their house payments, for a lot of people, it's very hard for them to catch up. And if you miss even a portion of one house payment, it will ding your credit pretty good. It means that you can't get another mortgage for 2 years. That's the penalty if you miss a house payment. Okay. But it's not the end of the world. It could be, you could work it out. Perhaps you could, typically, if you're not too far behind, you can talk to the lender and ask them maybe to spread out your missed payments across a couple of months. They will work with you, because it doesn't help anybody to have a house go to foreclosure. So sometimes those things can happen. Foreclosure takes a lot of time in this state. It doesn't happen overnight. Typically, the banks will try to get you on the phone and try to resolve the issue first before it goes to foreclosure. Then they'll wait months and months and months. You could be months and months behind. Maybe they do a loan modification, something like that. And if you don't comply, at that point, they have to probably start the foreclosure process. But even that takes 4 to 5 months. So it's not an overnight thing. You don't have to live in fear that somebody's going to knock on your door and throw you out in the street. It doesn't happen that fast. And what we're seeing right now is that the foreclosure rates are up by 5%, but they're still far below what they were during the meltdown that took place before right around 2008. So some of the options are, first of all, you can make up some of the back payments. So a lot of these lenders, if you're not more than 3 months behind, you can call them and go, hey, I'll go get, a second job or something and go and, I don't know, drive for Uber, something like that. And you can spread the missed payments, and it actually adds to your current payment. You can spread the missed payments over the top of your next 3 or 4 payments. Or you could get a loan modification, or you could sell the property. Okay. But what we are seeing right now is that there is an increase in the number of foreclosures. So what took place after COVID is they put a moratorium on foreclosures altogether, and they allowed people a lot of time to work out a loan modification with their lender. And so now that whole loan modification thing has sort of ended, and it's hard to get an extension on a loan modification. So if you're not ready to comply with whatever modification you worked out with the bank, they could, if you don't make payments, start the foreclosure process, but you still have time to sell it. I see so many people that will foreclose on a home or be facing foreclosure that haven't even tried to put their house on the market, which doesn't make sense because in the past 5 years, our home values have zoomed up quite a bit. And it's possible we can get the home sold, put a little money in your pocket, and you avoid a foreclosure. You may still have some dings on missed payments, but that only means that you're going to not be able to get a new mortgage to buy a new home in 2 years. But if you let it go all the way to foreclosure, what the mortgage brokers are telling me is it's going to be 7 years before you can buy a house. And that's, for most people, a long time. The good news is I looked up the statistics, and actually, this is the 21st most populous state, but it's ranked 32nd for foreclosure rate. So it's actually not that high. About 393 homes went into foreclosure, making it 1 out of every 6,000 homes in Colorado. And some of the biggest counties are Fremont, Pueblo, Weld, Mesa, and Montrose. Not so much in Colorado Springs and Denver. So it's not a big problem, but if you have a problem, I think the best thing you could do is don't stick your head in the sand, because that is what I see happen all the time. I have been working with the Secretary of Veterans Affairs now for over 10 years. I've handled selling almost 200 of the properties that were taken back in foreclosure by the VA, because for some reason those veteran borrowers either didn't make up their payments, couldn't make up their payments, and they let the house go, or some kind of catastrophe financially happened and they just couldn't resolve the issue. So I've helped a lot of people solve the problem, and I would hate to see, especially a veteran, face foreclosure, because it's a long-term problem before you can get your credit back on track. And if you are thinking of making a move, one of the free reports that we're offering is how to get the price that you want and need. And you can order that free report by going to barbhasthebuyers.com, click on the green button in the upper corner there, and you can order any one of my reports online. And so what do buyers do if their mortgage is not current? So what does current mean? First of all, almost every mortgage payment is due on the 1st of the month, and it's late after the 15th of the month. However, if you go beyond 30 days, that's when your credit gets hit. Okay. And they'll report a 30-day late on your credit. And that's when you have a little bit of destruction on your credit score. You can probably expect to lose about 100 points on your credit score. But that's not the end of the world. You can always recover from that. Usually if you're going to borrow money into the future, you can explain whatever situation took place. Once the bank has started the foreclosure, so in the state of Colorado, it's the only one actually in the country, it's called a public trustee state. what that means is they actually process the foreclosure through the county. So they have to file something called a notice of election and demand. So, even though the banks might have been telling you for months, oh, we're going to foreclose, you're in foreclosure, until you get a notice on your door that says notice of election and demand or in your mailbox, it has not started yet. The clock is not yet ticking. A lot of times these lenders will kind of threaten that, oh, you're in foreclosure kind of thing, but it doesn't officially start until you get that notice from your respective county. And then from there, it takes at least 120 days, sometimes a little bit longer, for the foreclosure to completely finish and the home goes back to the bank. So think about it. You got 5 months to foreclose, but you could probably sell the home in 1 to 2 months. So you're much better off if you sell the home versus face foreclosure, because you might have a few mortgage dings on your credit report, but you could recover from that pretty quickly in 2 years. But if you let it go to foreclosure, it's going to be 7 years before you can even get another loan. And then on every single mortgage application, they will ask you if you have ever foreclosed. So you're better off trying to get it sold and do something. So what are the options? You could resume making payments, but you still have to make up the missed payments. You could negotiate a loan modification. But keep an eye on these loan modifications, because these banks, they will not stop the foreclosure process. And you'll notice that when you get the county notification. And probably the most at-risk homeowners that are facing this are the ones in particular that bought homes during the boom. So in late 2020, 2021, even the beginning of 2022, when the rates were around anywhere from 2.5% to 3%, most buyers were fighting for homes. So they were having to bid over asking price. And then if they're getting a VA loan, a lot of times they got 100% financing. The foreclosure insurance for VA loans is called the VA funding fee. They tack on another 2.5% on top of the loan balance. So walking in the door, you have a little bit of negative equity. And then if something happens in your life where you can't make payments 2 or 3 years down the road, you could be in a situation where you may not have enough equity to do a traditional sale. And don't be greedy. If you're facing foreclosure, price it as low as, even if you break even, you're going to be better off in that situation than you would be if you let it go all the way to foreclosure over the long term. And I hate to see veterans get foreclosed on. It just breaks my heart. I've actually helped the VA handle almost 200 properties, and they still assign me properties, and I'll do the research. And many times I discover they didn't even try to resolve it. They just let it go and walked away. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyer's team. And I'm also the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how people facing a financial hardship can avoid foreclosure. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what homeowners should do in this situation. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program. If you're interested in selling or buying, call Barb at 719-301-3900. We're talking, Barb, about the people who are having trouble making their house payments and their options. Barb, what should people who are having trouble with their mortgages be doing?
I would say overall, just communicate with your lender. Try to work something out. Don't go silent. Don't stick your head in the sand. Do the best you can. If you still can't solve the problem, that's fine. Get some help. We help people all the time. So give us a call at 719-301-3900. I actually wrote a book about helping people avoid foreclosure. And I'm happy to give you that book for free if you just want to give me a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
We're going to talk a little bit about hot new listings. You can always talk to Barb at 719-301-3900. But Barb, when it comes to hot new listings, you've got a bunch of them. They're exciting. Tell people about them, please.
I do. I have a great couple of 2 stories. One of them on 6153 Nash in the low fours, beautiful, almost new 4-bedroom. Another great 4-level on Sneffels that has solar, priced in the mid threes. A home out there on 35 acres on Powers Road with a big barn in the upper threes. A beautiful, almost new 2-story 4-bedroom on Lavanya and Fountain, priced in the mid fours. Gorgeous home on Weeping Willow that backs to open space in the low fives, and a fabulous townhome in Briargate in the low threes on Smoke Tree. Also, we have a beautiful ranch at the end of a cul-de-sac on Brundage, really gorgeous ranch with a finished basement, and an amazing home that's on Cunningham and Fountain in the mid fours. It actually has a big RV garage plus a detached garage that could fit 4 cars. We also have some beautiful higher end homes on Palma Valley, priced in the upper sixes that back to open space. One on Gull Lane and Peyton that's on 5 acres in the mid sevens. A beautiful home on Woodmont with a 4-car garage, gorgeous 2-story. And then open today, a fabulous home on Winding Hills Drive in Monument. Main level living, 3/4 acre, beautiful home, and move-in ready for its next buyer. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday at a new time. Coming up next week, it'll be at 11 o'clock in the morning. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. You can always see replays of the show on Barb's YouTube channel. That's Barb Schlinker. Or listen to the podcast on all of the popular podcast platforms, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all of the others as well. Thanks for listening. Reach out to Barb again, 719-301-3900. Barb, thank you so much for talking with us. Have a great week.
Thank you. Have a fabulous weekend.
Boom. All right.
Boom.
Let's see. Will home prices drop over the next few months? Top 7 negotiating mistakes and how to avoid them. Top home design trends 2024. How to stop foreclosure.
Oh, we'll do home design trends just to mix it up a little bit.
I like that. I think, that's nice, upbeat. And all right, I'm going to take the headphones off.
How do you think I did on the foreclosure topic?
Ouch.
How do you think she did on the foreclosure topic?
Yeah, I thought she did okay. I mean, I thought she did pretty well. And the one thing I liked about her, and I don't know much about foreclosures, but the one thing I liked about her was her talking about how her heart really goes out to people who find themselves in that situation. And I thought she did a good job on, the various time frames. If you get it squared away within this time frame, within this time frame, if you don't get it squared away, it could be 7 years. If you get it squared away, it could only be 2. What did you think?
I thought she did really
Good. I thought that was a trick question. It was like, Richard, really? You thought that? Barb, can you hear me?
Yes,
David,
I can.
Talking, and I have to say, we both agreed you did an incredible job on the foreclosure issue, not just explaining the timelines, but your heart was in it, looking out for people.
We could really hear her compassion.
Oh my God, the compassion. And helping people understand, look, if you get this squared away, don't just ignore it. If you get it taken care of, you've got this much time to make a payment, to make another payment. If you get this taken care of, it might be 2 years before you can afford a house. But if you don't, geez, it's going to be 7. You could hear your compassion coming through. And I thought you took something that could have been complicated and challenging. And David and I both thought you did a great job on it.
Thank you.
All right, so here we go. We'll count it down. 3, 2, 1. Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, airs every Saturday afternoon from 11 to 12 o'clock right here on 740 KVOR. This weekend, Barb's talking about top new home design trends for 2024. You want to hear about those. The TV is ringing the bell and all of her stuff is blowing over.
Everything is good?
Barb, I think our business here is finished or something.
Okay, so we definitely are going to record the show next week as well. I
Okay.
thought it was going to be off, but because they're moving the time, I just want to remind you.
All right. And I think
Yeah.
I do, and I'm not saying this because I'm the corporate, water boy, because I'm far from the corporate water boy, trust me. I really do think that is a good time for you. And I think it's a good schedule, honestly, for the station. I think it gets them back to where they used to be and they want to be, where they go from one show to another, and especially Kudlow, and then you're right after Kudlow. So
Yeah,
I think it's
I
gonna,
like that.
I think it's going to prove to be very fertile ground for you going forward. And I'm glad you're feeling better. You do look better. Not that you
Thank
looked
you.
better last week. Let me be clear about that. I always have to make that out with women. No, you looked fine last week. I didn't mean because you looked sick or you were tired that that anything looked wrong. I mean, your
It's
guy.
okay. You're fine, Richard. I
so
got what
much
you meant.
I'm glad you're feeling better. All right. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Yep.
Bye-bye.